Are you ready to get serious about learning German? Have you been dabbling with language apps but feel ready to take your German to the next level? If so, this video is exactly what you need. Today, I'll share my best strategies for learning German as a beginner, without a boring textbook inside. Sounds exciting? Then keep on watching. For those who are new here, hi, I'm Salome, a German teacher and passionate language learner. I've successfully learned 4 foreign languages and am currently working on my 5th. So trust me when I say I know a thing or two about language learning. As a teacher, I could simply recommend a textbook and tell you to follow along, do the exercises and call it a day. But as a language learner myself, that sounds like a recipe for boredom. Growing up, I spent hours sitting through traditional language classes, and let me tell you, they were far from fun. Now, as an adult, I have the freedom to structure my learning in a way that's enjoyable and effective, and I want to help you do the same. If you're like me and can't bear the thought of staring at a dull textbook, but instead want a method that helps you navigate daily life and build real connections with people in German, then you're in the right place. So let's make your language learning journey both fun and practical. Also, bist du bereit? Los geht's. Before diving into any strategies, the most important step is setting aside dedicated time for your German learning. Without a clear schedule, it's easy for your goals to remain just wishful thinking. So by blocking out specific times in your week, you create the structure needed to make consistent progress. How much time you set aside and when you schedule it is entirely up to you and your lifestyle, and also how fast you want to reach your goals. For example, if you have a busy office job, you might carve out an hour during lunch or 1 to 2 hours in the evening after work. If weekends are more flexible for you, dedicating a couple of hours on a Saturday or Sunday morning could also work really well. Or perhaps weekday mornings are ideal, especially if the house is quiet after the kids have left for school. So take a look at your schedule and aim to find 5 to 6 hours each week to focus on your German studies if you want to make fast progress. This could be spread across multiple days, whatever suits you best. So for example, in my case, my busiest days are Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. So I might use Thursday for a light revision, but then dedicate at least an hour to 2 each Friday through Monday for focused learning. This structure helps me stay consistent while working around my busy periods. So find what works for you, block out that time and stick to it. It's the first step towards reaching your German language goals. Now that you've set aside dedicated time for learning German, the next step is figuring out how to use that time effectively. The best way to structure your study sessions is by focusing on these 4 core areas: reading, writing, listening, and speaking. So let's break it down with an example week. We'll focus on Monday through Friday, with Sunday reserved for a light revision. Let's start with what might feel like the hardest part, but it is also the most rewarding part: speaking. If you are a total beginner, you might not be able to say much yet, so start with pronunciation practice. This is crucial for becoming a confident speaker. Unfortunately, pronunciation is often overlooked in traditional German classes, leaving learners frustrated when they try to communicate in daily life. So to practice pronunciation, you'll want to familiarize yourself with German sounds first. I have a dedicated playlist here on this channel for German pronunciation that you can include in your study routine. A great starting point is my lesson on the German alphabet and the phonetic sounds of each letter. I'll have that linked below. Another great pronunciation practice is to read out transcripts of videos or podcasts. So for that, you choose a short paragraph from a video or a podcast where you have the transcript available. Deutsche Welle, for example, is an excellent resource for this. So you'll read out the paragraph loud while recording yourself and then compare your recording with the original audio. Ideally, you'll have a native speaker review your pronunciation. In my course, the German Fluency Academy, in which I help total beginners go from their very first words all the way up to having conversations with native speakers, we actually do these kinds of practice a lot, especially in the beginning. Students use voice recording tools to practice and then get individual feedback to help them improve. Additionally, we focus heavily on speaking activities in our community. So each week, students submit a short video or voice recording on a specific topic, receive detailed feedback on how to improve. These activities typically take just 15 to 30 minutes to prepare and submit, but the results are incredible. Students gain confidence and become more comfortable speaking German, and their progress is truly inspiring. Like Wes, for example, he is part of a German language meetup that he participates in regularly. Bria has been able to connect deeper with her partner's family.
I recently traveled to Germany to visit my partner's family, and this was the third time that I traveled to Germany. And this time, knowing that I had gained a lot of skills in the language over the last year with the German Fluency Academy, I was able to understand a lot better the conversations with my partner's family. I was also able to put words together and understand the topics of the conversation. And I was able to interact with many of his friends and family, and that was really a great moment, and I was really proud of it, and I owe a lot of that to the German Fluency Academy.
Akhilesh was able to conduct an entire job interview in German and also ended up getting the position. Or Ella, who has aced the speaking part of the B1 exam, even though she was absolutely terrified taking the exam. So if that sounds like something you want to be able to do, the best way to get started and learn more about the German Fluency Academy is by joining my free workshop for beginners. The link is in the description box below. So by starting your week with speaking practice, you build a strong foundation and tackle one of the most challenging yet rewarding aspects of language learning head on. So I like to alternate between active skills and passive skills. Active skills involve producing something yourself, like speaking or writing, while passive skills focus on absorbing information, like listening or reading. So for Tuesday, we focus on reading. And here is how to structure your reading practice. Pick something you find genuinely interesting. It could be a short story, a song lyric, a paragraph from an article, or even a recipe. The key is to make the experience enjoyable, just as you would in your native language. Then you read the text out loud. That not only improves your comprehension, but also doubles as a pronunciation practice. And you would also go ahead to highlight keywords. So identify 10 to 15 words that seem essential to understanding the main idea of the text. Then at the end of this exercise, you can check your understanding. Use a tool like DeepL, an excellent online translator, to verify if your guesses about the keywords and their meanings were correct. Make it fun and personalized. I encourage my students to read something they would genuinely enjoy in their own language. Recently, we did a community activity where students shared a recording of something they chose and read aloud. Their choices were so creative and diverse, from self-written stories about their daily lives to song lyrics, historical pieces, and magazine articles. It was amazing to see how much fun everyone had with this exercise, and the variety of content was truly inspiring. And the best of all, this method allows you to practice reading without relying on boring textbooks and keeps your learning experience exciting. Now on to Wednesday, and you've probably guessed it, this day is dedicated to the other active skill: writing. Let's be honest, writing can be challenging, especially if you're not used to writing regularly, even in your native language. For many of us, this isn't something we do often, so key is to keep it simple. As a beginner, focus on writing simple sentences about your daily life. For example, one of my students, Ella, started by writing short text messages to her German boyfriend about her day. These sentences were 100% relevant to her personal experiences, which made the learning process effective and enjoyable. Another student of mine, Carl, wrote a story about his granddaughter and her daily activities. I've actually shared his story on our student success page, and I'll link the interview with him below if you'd like to check it out. And the best part about it, it actually sparked the granddaughter's interest in the story, and they both ended up enjoying the process together. She's also learning German with him now. He gets to teach her. It's a whole cycle, and it's a really, really lovely story. Which brings me back to the core message of this video. Make it enjoyable. It's so important to enjoy the journey, otherwise it's super hard to stay consistent, and consistency is something you need to successfully learn a language or any skill, as a matter of fact. So find ways to make writing fun and meaningful, like writing short messages or emails to a German-speaking friend, or keeping a journal in German and write 2 to 3 sentences about what you did that day. With consistent practice, you'll notice your sentences gradually become longer and easier to construct. So now that we've covered speaking, reading, and writing, it's time to focus on the final skill, listening. This is often a favorite among my students, and while it can be challenging, it's also incredibly rewarding and offers plenty of ways to make it enjoyable. Listening to German songs, for example, is an excellent way to tune your ear to the language, and it's something you can easily do while going about your daily activities. Podcasts and movies are also fantastic options. They allow you to immerse yourself in the language while exposing you to real-life vocabulary and phrases. If listening is your main focus for the day, I recommend turning it into an active learning session. So don't just watch the movie and let it pass you by. Take notes. Write down new vocabulary or phrases you pick up while listening. Try to focus on catching keywords and understanding the overall context. Transcripts can also be super helpful, so if available, use a transcript or subtitle for what you're listening to. You can input the text into DeepL to check if your understanding of the content then was accurate. I'd also highly recommend looking out for those slang words and common phrases you'll hear often, for example, watching TV shows. If you pay attention to those, you'll eventually learn how to incorporate them into your own speech naturally. My bonus tip for you is to incorporate learning German into your daily routine as much as possible. Some of my favorite activities include writing my grocery or to-do list in the language I want to learn. It's something I need to do anyway, and this way I'm learning vocabulary that's highly relevant to my day-to-day life. Another favorite of mine is using Post-its. If you're struggling to memorize specific words, write them on a Post-it note and place it somewhere you'll see them often. I'm not even kidding you guys. I used to have my bathroom mirror covered with study notes. It was great because it turned brushing my teeth into a super effective revision session without taking more time out of my day. Ideally, you'll also want to find a course of some sort that is geared towards practical German to provide you with the necessary structure, grammar explanations, and just learning more effectively. Working with a native speaker is always a great choice so that you can get feedback on the things you say or write, something AI or an app just can't do. If you enjoyed today's video and it feels like that's how you'd like to approach your German learning, I am 100% sure that you'll enjoy my free taster lesson for beginners too, which I have linked below. By the end of that free lesson, you'll also find out more on how to join us inside the German Fluency Academy. I'd love to see you there. I'll be back next week with another lesson for you guys. Das ist alles für heute. Vielen Dank fürs Zuschauen und bis zum nächsten Mal. Tschüss!